Good day, class. This is Sir Kenny, and today we will discuss STM006 or General Chemistry 2, Module number 7, which is about identifying the different types of solutions. Before we begin, let us have our lesson objectives. So at the end of this lesson, you can say that yes, I can define what solution is and identify its type. Also, I will be able to calculate the concentration of solutions using percent by mass and percent by volume. Let us now go to our lesson. First off, solutions. When we speak of solutions, this is a classification of mixture where only one phase can be seen. So that means, yung mga individual components or yung kung ano yung nagkakreate doon sa solution, hindi mo sila kayang i-distinguish using your eyes alone. So, solutions are composed of the solute plus the solvent. What are the difference of the two? Let's find out with this slide. Now, this may seem obvious and mundane. However, in this topic, we must identify and define thoroughly what solutes and solvents are. This is because our future topics will revolve around solutes and solvent. Yung mga topic kasi natin ay computation. So, it is imperative that you will be able to discern kung alin doon sa mga substances ang ating solute at kung alin doon sa substances ang ating solvent. Now, when we speak of solutes, this is the substance that is dissolved to make a solution. So, that is our definition in general. However, the specific definition is, it is one of the components of a solution with the lesser amount. When we say solvent, this is the substance that dissolves the solute. Again, that is the general description or the general definition. The specific definition is, it is the component of the solution with the greater amount. So when the solute is dissolved in the solvent, it is not possible to identify the solute and solvent as individual parts kasi na thoroughly mix ang ating solute sa solvent. An example of this is adding salt with water. If you're going to add salt in water, then that means if you try to identify the components of the solution, mahihirapan ka using your unaided eye. Now let us have an example. Meron kang alcohol na 100 ml at ang nakalagay sa description ay it is composed of 70% isopropyl alcohol. So, alin doon ang solute at alin doon ang solvent? Of course, ang solute natin doon ay yung water. Bakit? Kasi 70% yung isopropyl alcohol doon. So that means the remaining 30% ay yung water. Since mas mababa ang amount or ang value ng ating water, then that means it is a solute. Whereas the solvent ay ang ating alcohol since it is 70%. Here are some examples of solutes and solvents. Number 1, salt water, wherein the solute is the salt and the solvent is water. Next, we have the blood, wherein the solutes are the calcium ions and the sugar, and the solvent is water. There are different types of solutions. That is because it could be made from solids, liquids, or gases. An example of a gaseous solution is the air, since it is composed of many different gases and yet we cannot identify each of the component of the air particles. Ang atmosphere natin, it is composed of 72% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% others. And yet, we cannot identify using our eyes alone kung alin sa mga particles ng air ang nitrogen at ang oxygen at yung mga other gases. Next is humidity. So when we speak of humidity, it is the amount of water that is dissolved in the air. Ito yung dahilan kung bakit feeling natin ang lagkit-lagkit ng hangin sa balat natin because of the water particles that is present in the air. The solute is the liquid or the water. The solvent is the gas. Next, solid solution, stainless steel, wherein the solute is the chromium metal and that the solvent is iron. That is because the chromium metal and the iron are melted in order for them to be combined. Now, the amount of solute that dissolves can vary. Ang tawag natin dito ay yung concentration, kung gaano ka-concentrated yung isang substance. The higher the amount of the solute, the higher the concentration. The lesser, mas less concentrated. So when we speak of concentration, it is the amount of solute dissolved in a solvent at a given temperature. For example, if you're going to make a hot chocolate, the more powdered mix you add, the higher the concentration will become. Or for example, sa lemonade, the more lemon concentrate or powdered mix that you add, the more tart the drink will become. For example, sa pagtitimpla ng kape, the higher the amount of coffee granules that you add, mas matapang yung kape, mas concentrated yung coffee. So here are the different degrees of concentration. Meron tayong unsaturated or dilute, saturated, and supersaturated. When we speak of unsaturated or dilute solution, the solution has a low concentration of solute. Ang mga substances kasi natin, for example water, meron siyang certain amount of solute that it can dissolve at a given temperature. We have to emphasize at a given temperature. Normally, our temperature is at 25 degrees Celsius. That is the room temperature. So, pag sinabi nating unsaturated, mas bababa pa sa kayang i-dissolve na amount ang nilagay doon sa solvent para maging solution. Now, for example here, how much salt can be dissolved in 100 ml of water? We have to identify kung ano ang ating temperature dito. We have to specify the temperature, di ba? The temperature at room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. The amount of salt that can be dissolved in 100 ml of water at 25 degrees Celsius is 36 grams. So that means kapag yung nilagay mong salt doon sa water ay less than 36, then that means the type of solution that will be made is unsaturated or dilute. Kasi mas mababa sa maximum amount of solute ang na-dissolve. When we speak of saturated, a solution that contains the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved into the solvent at a given temperature. As I have said earlier, the maximum amount of salt that can be dissolved in a 100 ml of water at 25 degrees Celsius is 36. So that means kapag 36 na yung amount ng salt na inad sa water, then the type of solution will be saturated. Kasi na-achieve na niya yung maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved. Kapag higher than 36 grams of salt ang dinagdag, then those excess salt particles will not be dissolved anymore. They will settle at the bottom of the container. Hindi na siya made-dissolve pa. So yun yung ibig sabihin ng saturated. What about supersaturated? These are solutions that contain more solute than normal by raising the temperature of the solvent. In our future discussion, we will discuss how temperature affects the rate of solubility. Ibig sabihin sa supersaturated, it will need the aid of increase in temperature para masigit pa yung matunaw na amount ng salt doon sa water. So for example, naglagay ka ng 38 grams of salt doon sa 100 ml of water. With the introduction of heat, madidissolve lahat yung 38 grams of salt na yon kahit na 36 lang ang limit ng 100 ml of water at room temperature. We will discuss how the increase in temperature affects the rate of solubility. Now we go to the quantitative expressions of concentration of solution. We may discuss all of this. The first one is percent by mass, next percent by volume, parts per million, parts per billion, mole fraction, molarity, molality, and normality. Let's go to percent by mass. Now, one method of representing the concentration of a substance in a solution, which is expressed as the mass of one component divided by the total mass of the solution multiplied by 100. Percent by mass is also known as mass percent or weight over weight percent. The formula for the percent by mass is the mass of the solute over the mass of the solution times 100 since it is percent. Let us have an example. Let us determine the percent by mass of 13 grams of tin in a 270 gram bronze alloy. First, let us determine our formula. The mass percent of tin will be equal to the mass of tin divided by the mass of the bronze alloy times 100. Now let us substitute the given, but we have to make sure that the unit of the two, yung ating numerator at denominator, ay pareho. Now in this case, pareho silang nasa grams, so we can proceed. So the mass percent of tin will be equal to 13 grams, which is the tin, divided by 270 grams, which is the bronze alloy, times 100, cancel grams. So mass percent of tin will be equal to 4.81%. Another example, an aqueous solution, ibig sabihin inside a water solution, contains 0.7 kilograms of water and 45 grams of sodium hydroxide. What is the percent by mass of sodium hydroxide? Let us write down our formula. The mass percent of sodium hydroxide will be equal to the mass of sodium hydroxide divided by the mass of sodium hydroxide plus water. Remember sa ating definition dito sa una, ang ating solution ay composed ng solute plus solvent. So that means, dito, kailangan natin pagsamahin yung mass ng ating sodium hydroxide, which is the solute, and yung mass ng water, which is the solvent, in order for us to determine the mass of the solution. Next, mass percent of sodium hydroxide will be equal to 45 grams divided by 45 grams plus, we have to convert kilogram to grams para maging pareho ang kanilang unit. It is up to you if you're going to convert kilograms to grams or grams to kilogram. The percent by mass will still be the same. So 45 grams plus 700 grams times 100. So mass percent of sodium hydroxide will be equal to 6.04%. Another example. Find the masses of sodium chloride and water required to obtain 175 grams of a 15% solution. Now, we can make use of our usual formula and then mark down X as a mass of solute, and then we can shift solve. Or we can simply use mass of solute will be equal to mass of solution times the mass percent. So, our mass of the solution is 175 grams. I-multiply natin doon yung 15% since it is the solute. Remember, kapag sinabi natin solute, it is the one with the lesser value. So, ibig sabihin, kapag lower than 50%, that's the solute. Pag higher than 50%, then that is the solvent. So, ibig sabihin, yung makukuha natin dito sa 15% ng 175 grams, yun yung mass ng solute. So, it will be 26.25 grams of sodium chloride. This is the mass of the sodium chloride. How about the mass of the solvent, which is the water? So, mass of the solvent will be equal to the mass of the solution minus the mass of the solute. Kasi di ba ang ating solution ay solute plus solvent. Para makuha natin yung mass ng solvent, ibawas natin yung solute doon sa solution. So 175 grams minus 26.25. So that means the mass of the solvent will be 148.75 grams of water. Let's have another example. If two brass alloys, one is 350 grams composed of 200 grams of copper and with 150 grams of zinc, and the other is 200 grams composed of 34% zinc, were to be melted together, what will be the percent by mass of zinc? So dito naman, dalawa yung ating solution. Dalawa kasi yung brass alloy. Yung isa daw ay 350 grams, yung isa naman ay 200 grams. Yung 350 grams, yung zinc daw doon ay 150 grams. Yung pangalawa naman na alloy natin, 200 grams siya, tapos yung zinc niya ay 34% ng 200. So we get that 34% of 200, it is 68 grams. How do we determine the percent by mass of zinc now? So the mass percent of zinc will be equal to the total mass of zinc divided by the total mass of the two alloys. So ipag-add natin yung total mass ng dalawang alloy times 100. So the mass percent of zinc will be equal to 150 grams. Ito yung nanggaling doon sa 350. Tapos 68 grams, ito yung nanggaling sa 200. Pagsamahin natin yan to get the total mass of zinc divided by the total mass of the solution, which is 350 grams plus 200, and then times 100. So the mass percent of zinc will be 39.64%. So that's it for percent by mass. Let's now go to percent by volume. When we speak of percent by volume, it is one method of representing the concentration of a substance in a solution, which is expressed as the ratio of the volume of the solute to the total volume of the solution, multiplied by 100. I know that it sounds familiar because it is almost the same definition as that of the percent by mass. Ang pagkakaiba lang nila ay yung unit. For mass, we make use of grams or kilograms. For volume, we make use of units of volume tulad ng liter, milliliter, cubic centimeter, cubic liter, and such. So the formula is the same. Papalitan lang natin yung mass, gagawin nating volume. So familiar pa rin yung ating formula. Percent by volume is also known as volume percent or volume over volume percent. So let us have an example. Determine the percent by volume of 15 ml of ethanol in 0.5 liter of alcohol solution. So write down the formula. Percent by volume of ethanol will be equal to the volume of the ethanol divided by the volume of the solution times 100. Let us substitute the values. Percent by volume of ethanol is 15 ml, ito yung ethanol natin, divided by 500 ml, ito yung ating solution. Nakalagay dito ay 0.5 liter, so we have to convert this to ml, or pwedeng gawin natin na from ml to liter or liter to ml. Ang importante dyan ay pareho ang unit ng dalawa nating given times 100. So, the percent by volume of ethanol will be 3%. So, pareho lang siya ng computation sa percent by mass. Ang pinagkaiba lang nila ay yung unit na ginagamit. For percent by mass, we make use of units for mass such as kilogram, grams, pounds. For percent by volume, we make use of units of volume such as liter, milliliter, cubic centimeter. So that's it for module number 7, which is about types of solution. You may now work on your modules.